All right, let's go back to this now. The process to find South Africa's next National Director of Public Prosecutions is officially underway, and helping us to further unpack this is Dr Suhayfa Bhamjee, who's a senior lecturer in criminal law at the University of Kwa-Zulu Natal. Doctor, it's an absolute pleasure. Welcome to SA Today. So the process of interviewing finally got underway, although with threats of disrupting the proceedings by the DA, which were quickly labelled as not having any merit by the Justice Minister, Mamuloko. But it seems we are off to a shaky start, taking into account some objections to some of the candidates on that particular shortlist. A very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. I don't know if I'd call it a shaky start necessarily. The objection was basically an intention to interdict. And as the minister explained, that would be taken forward through their legal experts. Yeah, there is one candidate that has raised serious eyebrows across the nation. But let's see what the panel makes of that and what the performance is at the end. It is quite troubling, though. It is quite troubling, though.
And Doctor, I mean, while we address the issue of some objections, I know that the legal watchdog, Freedom Under Law, as well as CASAC, have both made submissions also objecting to the nomination of one advocate, Menzi Simelane, who has been labelled as the most controversial candidate as he served as NDPP under former President Jacob Zuma. Is there merit, at least, to this objection? What does the law stipulate in this regard as well?
Well, I think there's definitely merit. It certainly goes towards a track record, and where Simelane is different from all of the other candidates being interviewed is that he has been in this role before, and obviously ousted from that position. So there is a question to be asked there. Status of his admission, that's also coming under question with the Society of Advocates taking that up as well for strike-off procedures. So we'll have to see how that pans out. I mean, we're not privy to how or what the other candidates were, the 32 other candidates were, and to say met the minimum criteria or didn't meet the minimum criteria. It would be very interesting to see what the panel in coming to the 6 determined were minimum criteria and how, I mean, we'd want an explanation of how Menzi Simelane made it through.
And speaking of criteria there, Doctor, all right, I mean, let's look at the operational matters of particularly this process, right? The advisory panel will then have to submit its recommendations to the president post the interviews, have a heavy task in their hands if we dissect the list of those shortlisted hopefuls who each bring their own vast experience within the fraternity, even if controversial. But let's quickly look at the likely final 5 as per the 2018 NDPP selection process that is still in effect, that could make the final list. What level of ethics and skill will they be required to be up for consideration? And I put direct emphasis on ethics and skill, Doctor, because of the current inquiries looking into judicial infiltration, as well as the current Gabinde inquiry on the current NDPP Batohi versus Chauke matters.
Yeah, so I don't think we should be too keen to say the final 5. Menzi Simelane hasn't quite been disregarded yet. If that was the case, he wouldn't be even interviewing today. But as far as what the criteria is, I mean, the panel needs to be clear. What does it deem is the role of the NDPP? Through its understanding of the Constitution? Does it want an executive manager, or does it want a doer or a reformer? So those are the questions that they would have to be answering for themselves, and I think which they're doing through the questions that are coming from the panel to the individual candidates as we speak. You know, there've only been 2 so far, and Advocate Mop is currently still being interviewed. There'll be a 3rd one, Andrea Johnson, today, and then the other 3 tomorrow. So, yeah, I think it is about knowing what you're looking for and then submitting the final 3, as they say, to the president. But we do hope that it's a rational decision, and it's one that is actually best for the country. And like I said in my op-ed the other day, we are ready for NDPP who puts law and justice above politics.
And that's absolutely it, right, Doctor? Because, I mean, maybe let's talk to that. What exactly is and should be the role of the NDPP?
Well, if we look at the Constitution requires that the prosecutorial service operate without fear, favor, or prejudice. And you'd think then, or you would imagine then, that the head of this organization would equally be meritorious in those respects as well. Mm-hmm. So what you're looking for is someone who has demonstrated from a track record unwaveringness and commitment to constitutional morals, fairness, justice, and regardless of who's coming under the shield or the sword of justice.
Mm-hmm. And ultimately, the president has the final say, Doctor, a move that has since come under sharp criticism lately as well, with some terming this as the time for passing the poison prosecutorial leadership, Shortlist, being nigh, as citizens and lawmakers alike are saying they're fed up with the smokescreen process, as they claim.
Yeah, so look, we can call it a smokescreen process, certainly in very many respects. But we must also remember that in the past, NDPP decisions by the president have been declared irrational or unconstitutional by the court, mm-hmm. and those particular NDPPs were removed. So there are mechanisms to ensure or sort of protect against this sort of instance or circumstance from occurring. But yes, there is room certainly for reform of the law when it comes to true independence of the prosecutorial body.
Mm-hmm. Doctor, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for that enlightening discussion. That is Dr Suhayfa Bhamjee there. She was a criminal law senior lecturer at UKZN on the interviews of the NDPP finally starting today.